Thank you.
I'm glad I finally connected with you. I've been holding it for a while.
Stamp collecting and exhibiting presentation number 3. And thank you for coming and listening and participating. It's been fun for those of us who've been putting it together to be with you. Thank you for allowing us the time to share the joys, the whys, and the hows of exhibiting. I'd like to begin today. Basically today will be a sharing of fellow members of their beginning exhibiting and showing some things. But I'd like to just a quick review of how we got here. One thing we mentioned at the first gathering is there's a difference between a bourse and a show. I was going to look up the word bourse. Maybe Ann can do that while I'm talking. I'm not even sure what it means, but what it means in the philatelic world is that's a stamp show that doesn't have exhibits. So if you're reading in the back of Lynn's or another magazine that lists the shows, if it says a bourse, there won't be exhibits there. A stamp show, on the other hand, will usually have exhibits. Not all the time, but you can expect not to see exhibits at a bourse, and hopefully there'll be exhibits at a stamp show. We began by saying the first decision you need to make if you're exhibiting is whether you want to do it for fun or if you want to be serious. Either way is fine, but you got to make that decision. Are you doing it just for fun and enjoyment, your own personal learning, or do you want to get serious and get into the competitive side of exhibiting? Both are equally valid, equally important, and I think that's one of the most important things you can take away from this these presentations is that exhibiting does not have to be competitive. It can be non-competitive. Today, it's a non-competitive showing. There'll be no judging here. You have to be one collector sharing what they enjoy collecting with others, which is a joy, I believe, in itself. One of the advantages of doing that, for me, as an example, is I have shared that I collect what I collect. And because of that, I ended up with 4 accordions on stamps today. Yeah. 2 on postcards, 3 cards, and 1 on a stamp. I mean, this is what the hobby is about, sharing. Ann just brought up able to share, somebody raised, so by sharing what we collect, it builds bonds between collectors and club members. So it's one of the reasons I think it's important why non-competitive exhibits are very important. Even those of us that are living this have all entered the competitive side. I want to be clear, non-competitive is just fine. I also want to remind you that if you're going to exhibit competitively, you got to start with the APS handbook on exhibiting. It's online. Go to the APS website. You can buy it. But if you're gonna start exhibiting, you might as well start right and learn the rules. However, if you're going to have a non-competitive exhibit, then it's just what you want to do and how you want to express yourself, which we'll see a couple of those examples in a moment. I want to remind you there are different levels of shows. There's a local show, often put on by a local stamp club. For years and years, we sponsored the DanePex, Dane County Philatelic Exposition is what it stood for. Later we added stamp show so people know what that would mean to the end of it. But that was a local show put on by a local club. COVID hit and we stopped, and we're still looking for, hopefully someone would like to take over and we could have a stamp show again here if we can find someone to lead our club in that. After local shows, there are state shows. One example is Wiscopex, which is taking place next month, April 18th and 19th in Fond du Lac. It's a wonderful show, a wonderful venue. Fond du Lac seems like, it's a world away. From the east side of Madison, it's 1 hour. From my house to the hotel, it takes me 25 minutes to get here from Madison. So it's not all that far away. If you live on the west side, of course, it's going to be a little bit longer. But it's a wonderful show to go and enhance your collection through the dealers, but also see some exhibits. After state shows, there's national shows, and those are put on by the APS. And there are around 20-something, 23, 25 national shows that are put on through the year, again, sponsored by local stamp clubs. And just this past 2 weekends ago, there was an APS Champion of Champions stamp show in San Diego, California. And I have a relative there, and my cousin's son fell in love. And just like Dave, will you please marry me? So I have to meet them. So we went out there, but lo and behold, what weekend do I choose to go? When there's a stamp show. And my cousin and my cousin's son and his girlfriend came to the show, wanted to see what it was all about. And guess what? The exhibits were the most exciting experience for them. I've just circled a couple of the topics that they really enjoyed. The first exhibit at the stamp show was a license and stamp system for waterfowl conservation in the 20th century United States. I didn't know there was a process, you had to have a license before we had the duck stamps. I just thought duck stamps started it all. And here, 5, 6 pages of this wonderful material. And then the stamps, the stamps are just beautiful for duck stamps. They were just wowed by that. My cousin's son girlfriend her father was Mexican, her mother is El Salvadoran. And there was an exhibit on Veracruz 1914 occupation revenues. I missed this in history. I didn't know the United States occupied part of Mexico in the 20th century. I just didn't know. Now this exhibit is about revenues, both from Mexico and from the United States. It's not even stamps that were mailed. It's about raising money to pay taxes in this occupation. And of course, you learn something all the time. Prexy coils. The Prexy, the presidential series, is that what you're going to be showing up here, Al? You right? It's part of the Prexy series?
Yeah.
Okay. There was an exhibit there that they just loved. You know what it was on? It was only on the coil stamps. Only the coil stamps of the Prexy series, and it was fascinating, and they liked it. Very colorful. An exhibit that blew me away was The Timeless Allure of Black, exploring the color through art, science, and industry. This was a 3-frame exhibit showing through stamps and philately and covers all the story of the color black. It was fascinating. And of course, my relatives enjoyed it. Some of you were at the stamp show in Kenosha in January. I know some of you were there. There was an exhibit there that was then, they brought it to that exhibit there, but it was at this show. And the exhibit was Black Thumb, Plants That Can Kill. The first day ceremony, is that my phone? No, it's not there. Let me get the phone.
I have the card, is it not there someplace yet? Over here? There you go.
Okay. I know you don't have a copy. You were there and you saw the exhibit. And it was
You
first
gave me the ride there. It was great.
it was great. It was fun. But the story behind that exhibit was the guy was from San Diego. His daughter was going to Michigan State. She was getting a doctorate in biology and plant pharmacology, and he thought he could get her interested in stamps by putting an exhibit together on stamps, which I don't think worked. But he came out fascinated about stamps that are poisonous, and the stamp that we issued at that show is a poisonous stamp. If you eat it, you die. And
If you eat the plant, not the stamp.
that's right.
Okay.
Eat stamps.
Stamp safe, right?
They also liked, there was an exhibit on the 1932 Olympics. I see we got an Olympic exhibit up here. This is just on the 32. The gold rush period, ocean to ocean express companies. How limited can you get? A period of time just with stamps that were used to move gold to get it from the coast, from the mountains to the coast and back and forth. Just, Wells Fargo's, it covers all over the place. The last thing that was caught their eye, and which is important today, and I'm taking a long time with this, but the Poway Stamp Club was in charge, put this together. And they also had a non-competitive exhibit. And in the exhibit, they had 2.5, well, maybe 3 frames, 3 frames. What We Collect was the title of it. And they did just what we asked you to do for here. But it was a very simple title, and I have the page. I put Badger Stamp Club, but they had Poway Stamp Club, What I Collect. And it was fascinating. Some were 1 page, some 2. There was a 5-page Ukraine exhibit about this person collects Ukraine. I collect US revenues. It was a 1-page exhibit, but had a beautiful revenue on there and told a story about it. And I'm just saying the visitors, the friends that came, were really taken by this. All non-competitive. Which reminds me that Wiscopex has a non-competitive exhibit along with competitive. I forgot about that. So I'm putting my new accordion exhibit in, and so I got my thing to fill out, but I also got non-competitive. And this can be 2 pages, 4 pages, or 8 pages. And if you want to spend a little bit of money and have your 2, 4, or 8-page exhibit go, you could apply, and I'm pretty sure they'd probably accept it. So you don't have to, it can be whatever you want. You don't have to follow all the rules to be in a non-competitive, and they're very interesting. I have 5 copies of this. If any of the people up here, you still have time, I think April 1st, you have about 2 weeks, you could actually get your exhibit there, or for next year. Yeah, we could do that. Okay. Finally, I stopped at San Diego. After San Diego, there's also there are international stamp shows also. They're all over the world, but every 10 years they come to the United States. I have been so fortunate that I've been to, after this May, I'm going to Boston. That'll be my 4th out of the last 5. And I've also been to an international stamp show in Paris. And we went to Paris to celebrate my wife and I, our 25th wedding anniversary, and she swears I set it up for that weekend. And it wasn't true, but to this day, she does not believe me. But they're fascinating, and I'm looking forward to being there. So this is worldwide. San Diego, I gotta mention this about, okay, then you want to answer,
San Diego. Maybe you're gonna mention what I'm gonna say.
Okay. I had the privilege of taking one of our members, Dan Undersanders, 2 of his exhibits to the San Diego show. And one was the first issue US 6-cent postal stationery envelope. And the second was the 5-cent Taylor envelopes of 1875, 1882. He brought a couple of examples here at our first presentation. And I texted him today, I don't know what, he got a large gold and the gold, and he got the grand award for the single frame championship. Ooh. And he said he got nothing for his award, but he's got a beautiful crystal bowl coming in the mail for him for the single frame.
Every show gives a grand for a multi-frame exhibit and a grand for a single frame exhibit. Big deal.
Yeah. Now that qualifies him. Next year, the single frame is at Chicago PAX, and you can only go in if you win at a national APS show. So he will be invited to show that collection, and then he will go up against the other 23 or 24 winners of single frame exhibits all over the United States.
For the champion of champions, it's called.
Yeah, which is quite, it's
pretty tough.
It's pretty neat. And even though that's competitive, it's exciting. And it all begins right where we are today in the non-competitive. My final comment is, and now I'll turn it over to John and we'll have people share then what they've done for us today, is I'm going to recommend that in 11 months, at the February meeting, that we have an exhibit, have a day to share our collections with one another. And that we will make this page, Badger Stamp Club, what I collect. And at the meeting, that time, will be a meeting where we just gather in a circle, or we'll put some up, and, but those of you that choose to, just share what it is that you collect. And hopefully, then, it will be the result of this trying to put a spark in you, but hopefully, and again, it can be 1, it can be 2, it can be 4, it can be whatever you want. But we'll do it in February, so if some of you get excited, hopefully our club can take some of our exhibits to Wiscopex next year.
So you're talking February 27th?
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, I'll be able to know that.
Yeah. And so that's what this is here. And remember, if you want to do it this year, I got the thing. Thank you for those of you that have picked up the challenge. John's going to introduce the people. And
Valerie is a fairly new member to our club. I think you joined a few months ago. And her exhibit is on the top row, and if you want to come and talk about it a little bit and, you know, the challenges you went putting it together, we'd appreciate it.
Challenges I went through challenges of finding something that had a complete set or something that just made sense for frames. So I picked the Winter Olympics because it was about to happen, and I started off with, what do? I can't cover it all. I had a lot of stamps from all over the world, but in Olympics, but I thought narrow it down, and I picked on U.S. soil Winter Olympics. And so we've had 4 of them and 1 that we turned down. And the first one was in 1932, and they had a ski pole error in the stamp where the designer had made a skier with a pole that they didn't really use, but everybody liked the stamp. So they kept it, but they called it a classic kind of error. And then the second Olympics was in 1960, and this was Walt Disney's, where he did the pageantry. He was the pageantry chairman. And so this was where the dances started, where the big show started for Olympics. And I had him on mine up until about 11:30 today, and then I couldn't find my single stamp of him. I had a book and it didn't fit in the space. So I pulled it out, but he's the show chairman on that. And they also had another problem with the Winter Olympics. They put the rings. The rings are copyrighted. You have to have permission from the International Olympic Committee. The United States, before they published that stamp, did not have permission. So they ended up pulling it off the market. And that wasn't the only part, because there was a congressman that actually tried to get a lot of the stamps and hoard them. And he ended up causing the prices to go up 7 times. So there was a great big conspiracy kind of thing going on. But that was the first one. And then the next one was the Miracle on Paper, which was the Olympic Winter Games. And that, you all know, is the Eric Heiden and the hockey players and all that. Did you know there's controversy there as well? And so as I dug into the history of that, I was like, what? Stamps have so much controversy. And then these guys, the whole controversy with that was we had the boycott from Moscow at the time, and so the Winter Olympics took place with no problems, but the Summer Olympics did not. And as soon as the Winter Olympics happened, they pulled the stamps off the market in support of the boycott. So then that caused all this problem too. But this is a commemorative first day one that was before it got pulled off the market. They pulled it off right at the end of the Winter Olympics, so it was on the closing day or the day after. And kind of interesting in that. And then I got these, I didn't have a block of those. I was hoping for a block and putting them all together, but I had the individual stamps on it. And then we get to the 4th Olympics on U.S. soil, and that was Salt Lake City. And the neat thing about this is not necessarily the Olympic part, but there's several hidden things that are in in the stamps that you can see with the magnifying glass. So I made a list of what to look for. It's actually, you can only see with the magnifying glass kind of in the
And we
print.
have a glass up
Right
there.
here,
Yeah,
afterward, you
magnifying
can
glass.
take a look.
So that is kind of neat, and it's a different age of how they made the stamps.
Yeah.
The one before that was they overlaid it, and there were a lot of the stamps that were smeared on the image because the overlay didn't come out right. And so that was what I found
Thank you,
interesting.
Valerie.
Stand up here, we got the film going, we got a question.
Okay.
What was your limits, just Winter Olympics on American soil?
On American
But
soil.
only limited, because you did have the one up in New York, was that?
I did Lake Placid, yeah, Lake
Oh,
Placid,
yeah,
New York is
yeah.
the Miracle on Ice. Lake Placid, this one was Squaw Valley in California, and the very first one was Lake Placid. The one we turned down was in Denver, Colorado. The city decided they didn't have enough money, and they turned it down. But our next one is going to be a Winter Olympics on US soil, and it's in Salt Lake City, 2034.
So that's complete then, that's all the Winter Olympics?
All the Winter Olympics on our soil.
That's great. That you could,
Yeah.
but, boy, what if you try to get all the Winter Olympics, you'd be overwhelmed, right?
There's a lot. There's definitely, and I pretty much have the US stamps for that, but in 4 frames, that's kind of hard to cover. I think the struggle that I had with putting it together was I saw kind of what was going on with the first 8 covers, and I was like, how do I make one stamp look good? And there's probably some ways, but I was trying to kind of play with color. It's not the best design, but I think the color does bring some things into it, and I think there's some better ways than doing what I did. I just used paper and glued it. But I think with scrapbooking technology and what they're doing and how they're laying things out with wording, there's so much more that you could do color-wise and digitally and in a printer. I
Well,
think.
the thing that really struck me was, because I remember exactly when they turned down, it was Carter. He got all, bees in his bonnet over this, and they canceled the Summer Olympics from the American participation.
Right.
And so that part, when you do this, you suddenly get these windows into pieces of history, which are fascinating.
And it's what are you guys about? It's all this corruptness, and then the stamp price goes up, and everybody goes after it, and then it's a scarce resource, and everybody. I mean, that's what stamp collecting is. I'm learning.
Next up is Sven. I can't think of your, Lyslav?
I spent 95% of my time on this project just trying to figure out what I was going to put up here. So this will be fairly short and sweet. But I got into telegraph stamps, occupation stamps after the war. And I realized I just didn't have enough material. I had plenty of stamps, but not covers. So I finally settled on registered mail, of the German Reich. And there I had a lot of covers, and I probably should have spread it out more into more recent stuff. So these are kind of not in the greatest, not doing it justice, showing history of registered mail in Germany. But that's really about it. So last night and the night before, I slapped all this together. So just briefly, it's just covers showing registration and showing the cities that the registration came from. There's a little bit of a history there. That started out in I think 1890 is when they started using the registration labeling system. They call them R labels. And it stands for Einschreiben in German, meaning registration, I guess. And they went through some changes. So here in Bavaria, they kind of did their own thing a little bit, but at this point they were pretty similar. I think that's about all I really have about it. It's, yeah.
Why would you register a letter?
Well, the whole concept of registration is it's for security, number one, to make sure it's going to where it's supposed to go, but it's basically a verification. It's verifying that you sent this out, and it's proving that it's supposed to go to where it's supposed to go. It's sort of different than a certified letter. A certified letter, you actually have to sign it, and then the person receiving it has to sign it, and then it's like a chain of custody. But this is this kind of protects you in the sense that the mailer, the post office knows that you sent it, that you proved it, they have record of it, and I suppose they can prove that it got to where it was supposed to go.
But there's no proof of what was inside, right?
No, it's got nothing to do with what was in the letter as far as I know.
So you could send an empty envelope and that would be proof that you...
Yeah, just simply proof that you sent it.
Don't they
Why
have
not?
to sign everything?
But why would you do that?
Don't they have to sign everything?
You may have to, you know,
That's a separate service. It's
Yeah.
called return receipt requested,
Right,
and
Right.
you pay extra for that.
yeah.
And you can do that on any
And
letter.
then, then there's insuring it and all that kind of stuff to kind of protect yourself. But this is just simply a verification process. And to some degree, it's sort of maybe a little more secure than just regular mailing.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did you soak those labels off of covers you bought, or was somebody just selling those labels separately?
No, those were sold separately. There was just a separate batch that I got. As a matter of fact, I got tons more of those.
Oh.
They're from all over Europe. There's Russian ones and, from Eastern European countries as well.
Are those censored, any of them?
No.
What's the latest year? What's the latest year?
The latest year I have up here is, I think it's 39. That's the Winter Hill stamps on these. And then the earliest one is, I think, 1911, the ones that I have. But really, you won't see too many of these kind of labels before 1910. Before it was just simply, they wrote it out. Einschreiben.
I don't know how many guys collect German stamps, but boy, do they get
Yeah.
ever, because, Germany was late to unify.
Right. And they have the big red R there, which means recommenda, which is registration in French or German. And they also put a number below it now, and that was after 1910, and then the name of the city that you registered it at. And usually some of these even have a little letter, like this one from Danzig. It'll have the little tiny letter K here. And I think there's one other that may have a letter, and there's also a number. The number that comes after the city is just a postal district. So they know it's going to Berlin, but it's District 2 or whatever. So that's pretty straightforward. The little letter is just a counter for the post office. They can kind of keep track of how many of these go out from a specific post office, I guess.
Boy, that's a lot of information on it, don't it?
Yeah.
I'll make a comment.
Yeah.
In the US, when we send registered letters, now, I should say when we sent, I'm not sure how it is now, but if you get things from the 30s, 40s, 50s, the cancellation, it's called a dumb cancel. It would be the letter O, but it would be like 2 tracks, like a racetrack. They'd put that over the letter, and then they would take their date and city stamp and put it on the back along the edge of the envelope to prove that it hasn't been opened. So when you get a registered letter in this country, it doesn't have the date, the place it was mailed on the front, it has it on the back. And it's canceled with a dumb cancel. It's not always the O, but they had a couple other types that they did.
Yeah.
So that was the security. You could show the letter was not opened.
And now, these days with registration, at least in Germany, that's all, it's basically a computerized
Right.
thing with a, what do you call that code on it.
Yep.
But that's about it.
Thank you. The next exhibitor here is an experienced exhibitor, but she brought some pages in case we needed to fill in some with some rows, and she's going to explain her 4 frames. Karen White.
Well, when John, when John says experience, yes, but not all that seriously. My first exhibit was serious, it was supposed to be serious, and it turned out that I did get a gold, but that was at Dane Peck's, a local show. So when I took it to the state show, it was, no, nothing. And I tried to improve it a couple of times, but I gave up. I got interested in other things and so forth. I got busy with other things. So I never did go back to serious exhibiting. But I have made quite a few 4-page and whatever, and sometimes a lot of displays, like when we had a first day of issue here in the state capitol for one of the Wisconsin stamps. I think it was Greetings from Wisconsin or whatever.
It was a flag stamp.
Yeah, or whenever there was some doings or whatever, and I said, oh, let's put some exhibit up there or to show what stamp collecting's all about, and so I would get these displays together. So in that respect, I guess I am experienced. But I still have a lot at home, but this is my daughter, when I first started coming back to the hobby of stamp collecting, I collected when I was a kid, maybe from the time of 8 to 18. And then I came back to it when I was in my 30s, mid-30s. And I was catching up on all the US issues and so forth. And I would be sitting at the table playing with my stamps and whatever, mounting them and tearing off salvage and whatever. And my daughter was very young at the time, probably 5 or 6, something like that. And she's always good at art. And she would take these salvages and draw pictures and whatever. And she would also make little envelopes and do various things. And I thought it'd be interesting. Well, first of all, I kind of wanted to preserve these. And I still have a lot more at home. I was going to expand this someday. I'll probably never get to do it. But so I decided I would make a real fun exhibit, and I called it Stamps and Covers in Kittyland. And the Kittyland Postal Service existed throughout the years of 1982 to 1985. And of course, it's in anonymous territory located on the west side of Madison. Its size is about a 1/4 acre with 3 inhabitants. And I thought I would kind of mock the fancy ones, with some of this wording. And so it's really a mockery on exhibiting, you might say. But anyway, and none of these stamps include the usual name of the stamp issuing entity, and many were non-denominated. Some early stamps showed color production problems. So what we're looking at, I thought I would pull out some of the what we call elements in exhibiting. If you have a stamp that you're particularly into, you want to show the various elements of that stamp. And so, but these in general are from Kittyland. And we have here a footwear. She took 4 pieces of salvage and drew a different shoe on each stamp or pieces of salvage. And the foot number, here I emphasize the plate numbers, yellow, red, and whatever, and dark blue. And the design is only a single color, blue-black. The same occurs with the Dove and Peace issue on multicolored plate number, whatever, I got the number, because some of the salvage had the plate numbers on. So she did that. So I did a peace issue here, I show that, where she has the dove and peace. And then we went into the love stamp with the plate number and margin inscription. That's another thing that, when you're element. So this one has the inscription in it, and electric eye markings it has in red, but the design appears in only blue-black. So I'm really mocking, again, the elements. and then we have the later family and pets issue, where she drew pictures of, or she had a stamp for each person in our family. There's just 3 of us, and the 3 dogs. And so we got that. An invert error, however, occurs on the family strip, and it is, one is inverted. So then we went to a full set of the Animals series, produced in coil format in strips of 7 with a straight edge on the top. Note the lettering, paper color, and perforation varieties. Here we have an L-perf 11 by 11 with the bugs, cats, and fish issues. And this is real. I mean, this was electric eye perforation. It was a salvage from whatever, so it really was. So anyway, we show that. And then we show electric eye perforated a different perforation number, 10.5 by 11. That's for the chickens, dogs, and sheep issues. And then we go to Kittyland covers, are typically very small and with a variety of cancel types. And she used to draw cancels on things too. So here we have a mock stamp with a hand-drawn circle with wavy line killer cancel. On Kittyland postal stationery envelope, love indecision. And here we have a hand-drawn circle with straight line killer now, rather than wavy line, and a date on a business size. This is a little bit different size envelope, Kittyland postal stationery envelope, and common variety. And here we have hand-drawn circle variety with wavy line killer cancel, a non-denominated religious charity label. And there's actually that's a label, real one. I don't know where she found that. Then we have the angled month date cancel on a $3.75 registered mail stamp. So, and that again is some, I don't know where she found it. It's at the label, but it does talk about being special. Straight line killer, a non-denominated 40 charity stamp or charity label. Oh, I know now, but a charity. We must have gotten some stamps from charities or whatever, like the Christmas, yeah. And she probably pulled those off of there. And then we have a month's date with a horse's stables, slogan cancel. That's in here, it's hard to see, but there's a slogan cancel on there. Denominated wildlife of charity label, plate number, such and such, single. And the last page, we have a large cover and franking type varieties on this page. So we have the folded letter with straight line killer cancel on a $2.74 registered stamp, and we've got a number on there too. That's the number of it. Again, a label. Slogan overprint stamp on cachet cover. Here we have it says mail early in the day. I don't know where she got that, but that's what it is. It's overprinted. And then we have a rare incoming cover from outside entity, frank with a 2-cent revalued U.S. postage to meet the 20-cent first class rate effective November 1, 1981 through February 16, 1985. So it's kind of a mockery of the elements. And I had fun putting that together.
And your daughter did all these.
She did.
And how old was she?
5, 6, 7, 8.
Really?
I might mention, years ago when I was chairing game picks, Karen's daughter often provided the artwork for our caches.
Yeah.
So what she did as a child ended up actually going into some significant artwork in philately later.
Yeah, she is. She's done a lot of cancels, special cancels for Whiskelpecks, Dane Pecks, and so forth. Yeah, she's very good at art. So she started out young. She always had that talent.
You say mockery, however, that's a teaching tool.
Yeah.
It's very much, we just learned, for someone that's new, all the different councils and stuff, it's a, you know,
Yeah.
it's why this is fun and non-competitive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Aaron, did you collect stamps?
Where's Al there?
No.
You wanna say something about yours, Al?
She did horses, yeah, she had an exhibit on that.
Hurry up there.
You know, over the years, I've collected a lot of different things. Ever since the lady across the street gave me a stamp album for Christmas when I was about 8 years old. And said the rest is history. I got interested in covers as a young collector when I got to high school. And I exhibited things like Oklahoma postal history with the Indian Territory, which was kind of neat. Our Army APOs, Army post offices, I exhibited that. And then later Zeppelin covers, I exhibited those. But I kind of fizzled after that and didn't exhibit anymore. But I still get interested in certain topics from time to time. And what these represent, the 1938 presidential series on stamps, but used but on cover, but not on a philatelic cover.
Explain what a philatelic cover is.
First day cover, event covers, anything that has a philatelic spin on it. And those, I got started on the 1938 presidential series covers when I had a kind of a good luck to find a bank tag with a $2 and the $5 presidential value plus a 17-cent on it. And I found that at an antique mall at a very, very cheap price. And I thought, gee, it might be kind of fun to fill in all of them, you know, from the half cent up, because I've got the tough ones, the $2 and $5. And so I started a venture. That was several years ago. And these are two of the pages out of there, but I've got them in here for things like the half cent used non-philatelic covers, all the way up to the $5. And on the cover, I put a block of the 50-cent with an Army cancellation from 1945 on it. And I hadn't thought of exhibiting it, and I probably will. It's probably an exhibit to me in my book. But these are two of the pages out here, and they're really interesting when they're used on non-philatelically. Like these are the 9-cent ones. And the 9-cent, this pair on here has the word registers canceled right over the stamp. I saw that on eBay and I thought, gee, that would look nice in my album, and it turned out it did. And then the other 9-cent one I got is a tag used to send a package or something. And in this case, it said empty packet or empty suitcase. Somebody sent an empty suitcase somewhere. And that's the 9-cent. Here's the 10-cent ones. And this with 3 10-cent or two 10-centers and a 6-center, airmail special delivery. Nice markings. And this has 2 10-centers, and that's registered. As you get into the higher values, they typically are registered or certified, things like that, and so they'll be plastered. Well, I have them all now, and what I can do is upgrade them a bit, you know, off eBay if I see something. I look for clean covers. If they're wrinkled or stuff, I don't buy them, because they tend to degrade the rest. And so it's, I don't think you'll see it in an exhibit, but anybody that wants to look at my book is welcome to. it's an area that is nice for me at my age, because I can look for something for my collection and it doesn't cost me $50 to buy the cover. It's more like 5 or 10 if it's really special. So that part's nice. With when I was collecting Oklahoma and Indian Territory, I had exhibited that one, as I mentioned, and gosh, about 10 years ago, I got a letter from the guy that runs the Oklahoma Postal History Society, inviting me to be a member of their society at free dues. They wouldn't, and he says, when you're in Oklahoma, we'd like to have you come to our meeting, and you will be the speaker. And the topic will be thoughts from from the only Oklahoma postal history collector in Wisconsin. I said, well, I haven't been, I've been to Oklahoma, when I was working, but I didn't get to one of those meetings, so. But the fun of collecting is looking for something, and that's still fun, and these have been fun, so. If you want to look at them, I'll put them back in the book, and you get. But they're, yeah, that's what I collect. Is it? Yeah. At my age, I need to be selling $50 covers rather than buying $50.
Thank you, Al.
I'm not gonna kick out when you said that the fun is looking for something. But what's interesting, you gotta have the idea first. But like, I love what you said, when you have this massive collection, now you can look at your own collection for something. And I think that's something that's germane to many of us who have huge duplicate collections or excess collections. What do you do with them? You can donate them or get rid of them, but it's amazing if you have something in your mind and you go through them, suddenly you might be able to create a collection out of your collection that you have already. You don't have to go hunting. You got like, I mean, those of you that want to paw through all your used things, I mean, secondhand.
Once you complete something, one of those covers wouldn't look like much anything in a dealer box. But when you put the whole thing from the half cent to the $5 together, it kind of gets it up on its feet, and it's sort of interesting.
And again, as a bookseller of 40, 50 years, and selling to lots of collectors and sort of here, the number one key, and I think you guys have sort of mentioned this, is the completeness. But if you make something too broad, then how can you get complete? But you have a beginning and end, and that's why I loved her Olympics. Yours is great because you're just doing that set.
Yeah.
She's doing Olympics of just the ones that are on American soil. If you did Winter Olympics, my God, you'd be all over the place, and that would be continuing. Well, the Americans will continue. So I think that's an important limitation, is when you can get more or less complete. You can like, here's the beginning and here's the end of it. And like getting the $5 one at the end, at the beginning was kind of neat that you got it.
Al, I have a question.
Okay, one more question, then we'll wrap this up and get to the.
I have a question about, what, does it matter to you what time period they're used in? The decade, does it matter what years? Do you collect only some years of that series, or can it span a wide variety of years for the postcard?
I don't collect ones that are used today or anything like that.
No, I mean, but for that series, for the presidential series,
No, he is very
would you
sure.
only buy before 1945, or would you buy them up to 1950, or?
Well, the series started in 1938.
Okay.
And so I collected the period where they were just sent to buy, if you went to the post office to send a registered letter or something like that. I know some of the issues you get mail today that will have a presidential stamp on it. I don't.
In a competitive exhibit, if you used a used stamp that was used outside of the period of use, it'd be marked down. You wanna, so when you get, we all get a lot of stamps from collectors, and all the modern, old stamps, but they were canceled today. They weren't You know, it's just.
Well, I had a guy that was collecting the series on cover, and he only wanted them if they were 1941 or earlier. He wouldn't collect them after 1940.
Yeah, well, you limit your pleasure.
Yeah. Well, the attendance has been marvelous for these 3 times, and we didn't know how this would work. But I learned an awful lot in the last 20 minutes with hearing about these exhibits, and it shows to me what the power of this is. If we could get once a year 4 or 5 of us to do what happened today. Somebody just take what you collect and put it together like this. Just think of this has been amazing to me. And it's something that we can do. You don't have to go to the competitive level, but we can help each other learn about collecting through this process. Thanks a lot, and yeah.